buenos dias, buenos dias. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know the words. All right. Welcome to Maggie's Kitchen. Listen, we have got to encourage ourselves, right? So let me get some water. We're going to be soaking the kale. First order of business is to soak the kale in baking soda and vinegar. I have some crabs that are thawing out here. Good morning. All right. And get my baking soda. I don't know why I keep it down here. You know, here I have not put the baking soda in the fridge. You know how we used to do that to kind of combat the smell in the fridge? I haven't done that here. I don't know if I should. So you let it soak and then you rinse it out really good. I also add some vinegar in my water. I'll never buy anything less. Good morning, Maria. Less than a gallon of vinegar yet because I use so much of it. Good morning, everyone. Woo-wee. I know yesterday I was a little bit heavy during the live. Robin, ¿cómo estás? Hola. But you know, you have moments like that, right? It's not like every day is you chirpy. And that's the time you always acknowledge where you are, right? So you don't keep pretending and be a fake. I don't know how to be a fake, right? If I'm having a bad day, I'm going to tell you, oh, I'm struggling today, yeah? Isn't that what life is all about? Ups and down, ups and down. So, if you are in Panama, buy your kale in this bag. They are hearty and green, just the way I like them. Good morning. No, I have not been invited. Well, I was invited to go, and then I kept looking at it's on a Saturday, 12:30. I have 2 Spanish classes around that time, so I'm not going to be able to go to the luncheon. That thing has grown to over 100 people, and I'm like, whoo, that is a lot of people. I don't even know how Abroad-SWRA Panama, that restaurant, going to be able to hold that many people. But anyway, it's a big thing. And no, I have not been asked to talk. Why would they want to hear from me? Everybody there, you know, Stephanie and Rashida, they're the experts. But they have like they say they can go to a rooftop afterwards. And I'm saying I finish at about 2:30. 2:30, so I'll ask them if I can come. And then look at this kale. You want this one with the stem, because when I went to that place in Costa del Este, it was in a bag for like salad. It was very thin, very pale. It did not look like this, okay? So, but that's what I want. And what I do, I just kind of take them off the stem, and then I roughly, I don't even chop them. I just use my hands. See? I want them. And then I save the stems for stock, of course. So today we're going to make a fish soup. I bought some mackerel yesterday. It was a big one. So I had them chop it. So I have some fish. I'm going to cook the fish first. You know, that's how I do it. Put it to the side. So it gives me a chance to see how it's holding itself so it doesn't disappear in the soup. And then get everything back together, deglaze. Of course, we're going to put a little bit of wine. And then what I'm going to put in my soup, I don't have any potatoes. And of course, you know, I'm staying away from the starches, so that works. I look to see if I had any pasta. I don't buy that anyway. But towards the end, I'll show you if you had like bow tie pasta or any, not spaghetti, anything besides spaghetti, you know, like with the string, what do you call that? Anything else you could add to it at the end. I have some leeks soaking, you know, to get rid of the dirt. I found some celery. I didn't think I had celery, so I have some washed celery here. And I made, and I found a little bit of marinara. Of course we're going to put that in there. I thought I was going to have to make some, but I didn't have to. And I made a fumet, which is the fish broth. You know, yesterday I told you I went with my girls. We went to the fish market. And, you know, my ladies are like, oh, can you fillet it? I don't want the head. I want the head. So I ended up with a bunch of heads because they didn't want any. So I put one of the fish head and the spine in there, carrots, the green part of the leeks, and I put some allspice, the grainy thing. I put some cloves and I put some peppercorn and carrots and garlic and bay leaves. So you know, you're building flavor. You know I'm all about flavor. I don't eat anything that doesn't have flavor. If it doesn't taste good, Maggie didn't make it. I'm just saying. I'm not being conceited. You don't have to call me names, but that's just the way I cook. I don't believe in eating anything that doesn't have flavor. What's the point? And that's probably one of my problems, that I enjoy my food too much. And I also have some watercress soaking. We call those beto. And again, one sis said that she ordered, there is a place here in Chiriquí where you can order there's a dog. It's busy this morning. And she said it didn't taste the same. And this is one other thing. Sometimes when we're used to something, you know, where it's grown and you're used to a certain taste, and then somebody else tries to replicate it, it may not come out quite the same. So she said it didn't taste the same. So I'm like, I'm sorry. All right, let's see. I think that should be enough. And then the rest of it, I'm going to make a kale salad. And I have to make it soon because, you know, there is nothing like I buy this beautiful thing and then I forget it and then it you know, turns bad. That happens to me a lot with cucumbers here. They go bad really rather quickly. All right. So in here I have the green part of the leeks. I'm going to use those to make stock. Yes, you know how I do. I always save. Yes, so I feel better this morning because I had a really good night's sleep. I went to bed around 11, which is really early for me. But, all right, we're going to let our kale soak in here. You are also, and you have a wealth of knowledge. Oh, thank you, Maria. I would like to nominate you, if you don't mind. They're taking nominations? I didn't know that. You would represent the older ladies like us. You have so much. Oh, you are so sweet. You are so sweet. Thank you so much. All right. We also, well, let me put the rest of my kale back. Oh, yes. Like tomorrow or Tuesday is my deadline to make a kale salad. And I don't know what I was thinking. I said we're going to put cannellini beans in that soup, which is going to be really good with the kale. But then I was like, I got to cook some chickpeas. And I'm like, well, you don't need chickpeas. You don't want the cannellini bean to be fighting with the chickpeas. No. But I always have chickpeas in the house, so we're just gonna leave it alone. Alright. And I also have some crabs, leftover crabs. You know, I found those blue crabs at the fish market. I don't always get them. So, and they were looking good. Usually sometimes I'll see them and they look old. I'm like, ooh, no. But those were good and fresh. I should have bought the whole thing and then clean them up and put them in bags. So I tell, you know, I'm going to tell the sisters. Some of them are like, where'd you get the crab? Well, when I find them, I'm going to buy them. And then after that, I'll petition them. So we have some crabs. So we're going to use some in our soup. And then, I know it's not traditional. But who wants to be traditional? That's boring. You know, my recipe is going to be just a little bit different. Just because I can. All right, so 3. And it adds a sweet taste to your soup. There's something special about blue crabs. And one sister said she had bought a Dungeness crab and it was so hard. She said she was hitting it and it wouldn't soften up. I don't buy those. I bought some claws, you know, especially for the gumbo. But I think the one that I had last time, the claws were big enough. So that was good. I did a good thing. Whew. All right. So now let's marinate this fish. Because you know it's not going to need a lot of marinating. You know, I told you like 5-10 minutes. That's all you need. Ooh. While it's marinating, I'll cut the peppers. So I have peppers, leeks, carrot, celery, watercress, crabs, and kale, and the cannellini bean. I think that's good for a soup, right? Yes. I believe that is enough. When I have 1 tomato, you have to have tomato when you're having, and I'm just so glad I had 1 tomato left. It's like, okay, because I don't buy tomatoes a lot. Remember I told you it tends to aggravate arthritis. So unless I'm making marinara, which I always try to have, I don't use tomatoes too much. Which is kind of hard because the other day I was at in Chinatown and you got to cross the street from where the bus stops you to go into that mall area. And then in the median there's always some ladies selling pineapple and stuff. And then they had this bag of cherry tomatoes. I swear it was this big for $1. How do you resist that? So, all right. The other thing I am hunting for, I was able to get some nice lime, and I'll tell you what, I was looking for big ones, but these little ones are so juicy. I was like, oh. And then it is between the metro station, and there's like an overpass. Under the overpass, they always have this sweet little old lady selling stuff, and I always like to buy something from her because, you know, I'm like, at that age and she's still, you know, so. But the other thing I am under hunt for now, ooh, I have half. I'm running out of, I've used up my Scotch bonnet peppers, so, yeah. I didn't find any at Ruby Smith, which is where I usually get them. All right, so we have that. We have little acid. So look at that. Look at how juicy. Ooh, but they have seeds. Oh, that's no bueno. Because usually your limes don't have seeds here, so I gotta catch them. All right, let me move the camera. Ooh, so juicy. Wow. Very good. It was funny, one of the sisters I was with yesterday when we went to the fish market, she said, I wanted to ask you, I want a recipe for ceviche. She said, I know you know. I'm like, ooh, I hate to disappoint you. I'm not a ceviche person because I don't eat raw fish. So, I felt sorry to burst her bubble. She thought I had a recipe for ceviche, and ceviche is not hard to make. You just have to put a bit of spices and squeeze your lime. It's not hard. Miyardi, buenos días, ¿cómo estás? Alright, let's move the camera down. I can see what's happening. Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, I found these shorts that I'm wearing today. I don't usually wear shorts. Of course, I won't wear them outside. I remember buying these in Peru. And I think someone was asking about Peru, especially now. I think Exodus Summit this year is going to be about where people need to move. And that's probably why they're here in Panama, because Panama is still a hot potato, like a nice choice for people. But I always said that when I was in Peru last year, I went to see Machu Picchu, right? I wasn't looking at Peru as a place, a possible place. And I said that. I said the place is not very diverse. I did not see people who look like me. I think I saw one or two ladies, and then when we went to Machu Picchu, of course, Machu Picchu is always, foreigners, visitors, tourists. I locked eye with a guy, a brother, and then there wasn't a lot of, people from different origin there. And the majority of the people, they're really short stature, and I was like, I felt like I was sticking out a lot. But then as I was putting on these shorts, I remember the area I was at was Miraflores. Miraflores is like a swanky place where you have a lot of people, international workers, living there and working there. So they kind of cater to that demographic, right? So I remember going into one of those swanky stores, and that's why I bought those shorts. But I can tell you, this is my term, I didn't get the warm and fuzzies when I got there. It wasn't like they were staring, but it you almost felt like maybe you didn't belong there. Yeah, that's the feeling that I got. And then the thing that came to mind today was I had one little incident with a hotel clerk. And I was in a hotel for one night when I returned from Machu Picchu to Lima. And I remember I had like an early flight. So I think it was like around 5. I got down wanting to check out. Well, a lot of times you can just leave, but for some reason I wanted to take the key down. I kind of like to have a printout just in case they charge me for something. And I remember standing there at the desk, this young man, probably he's in his, late 20s, early 30s, with his jacket and everything on. And I stood there, he was on the phone, so I waited for him. And he finished the call, and he started moving around. He went a little bit away, and then he came back, and I just stood there. He never acknowledged me standing there. So finally, I slapped the key on the desk and walked away. And that came back to me, and I'm like, okay. Well, that kind of formed an opinion in my mind about a place like that. Because I could see he wasn't treating everybody else the same way. That's my truth, and I'm sticking to it. So that could be a reason why I personally, my chickpeas should be done, would not consider Peru as a place for someone like me to retire. I absolutely love the food. And I said I would go back there just for the food. But I'm always thinking, I can't, if I like one thing, forget everything else about a place. My mind doesn't work like that. So, no. And there's a young lady who lived there for 6 months. I think her channel is Travel with Claire. And then she was there for 6 months because for the visa in Peru, you have to live in country for 6 months, I think. If I'm wrong, please correct me. And then she went to Japan, she went to, I don't know if she went to Vietnam or one of those Asian countries, and now she's Cali. And the other day she did a video about, oh, I almost moved to Panama, but she didn't. And she said somebody told them that Panama is like a mini Atlanta, and that kind of scared her, and she decided she wasn't coming because of that. I was like, you know, I don't have to have an opinion, as I always say. But that's her decision. But Peru definitely would not be on my list to live there. Even though it's stunning, it's desert, there's desert, it's going to be dusty when you leave Lima. I remember being on the bus, remember the 23-hour bus ride that I took, and passing places where there was a cloud of dust because it's really a desert. And then I was listening to another person talking about best places to retire, and then they were like talking about some of the places they would not recommend and why, especially some who are not very ethnically diverse or open to people from other ethnicities. And this is why Panama is special, because you don't get that feeling when you're here. Good morning, Carpathian. Okay, who else is there? Mayardi. Good morning, good morning. Oh, you're welcome. And they had a list in Latin America. I was like, oh. And they were talking about the countries that were most open to, you know, African American people of different ethnicities, you know, because here in Panama, we were paella, like my friend Hilaria said, you know, people from all over the place, and people live in relative peace, right? Because it's not institutionalized. It's not in the DNA for them to look down on other people like, you know, they do in certain places. You know what I'm talking about. But some of the countries that they started to talk about, and then they say Guatemala, and I'm like, oh my God, I was in Guatemala. But I wasn't in Guatemala City, and I cannot form an opinion about Guatemala like I can do with Peru, because I was only in one area in Guatemala. I was in Antigua, which is, again, it's a tourist spot. So in a place like that, it's really hard for you to form an opinion about a country if you're only staying in one area, right? That doesn't make sense. You couldn't do that. So I can't do that for Guatemala. But apparently it's not a very welcoming, according to that person, and I don't know if he's speaking from experience or not. And that's why I don't do videos about different countries, because I just don't feel qualified to be telling people. I can talk about Panama because I'm here, but I'm not gonna do, you know, a lot of these people are just looking, you know, for clicks and people to find out, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly. I can do my own research, right? And if I wanted to consider a country, I would go there and spend some time and move through like I did before I came to Panama, before I form an opinion. So that's why I don't do the compare contrast. You can go and look at some figures and then put it on your channel, because then it becomes your truth. I don't do that. I guess I'm too old to take those risks. And we're not here just to get 100,000 subscribers and people are pushing and saying all kinds of things because they want their channel to grow. We're going to be doing what we're doing. We're going to chat. We're not going to put people on blast. We're not going to talk about people. We're not going to diss people. We're not going to do that, because that's not me. And my channel is a reflection of me. So If it's something I don't do, it's not gonna get on the channel. That's just the way I roll. Alright? But when he said Guatemala is not very, what's the word they used? I was like, oh, okay. But I did not get that when I was there. And I was there just to enjoy Semana Santa. And I had a great time. The country is beautiful. But of course, where I was the land of volcanoes. And then I think last week or 2 weeks ago, they said that volcano erupted and people had to be evacuated. And then this guy who does on his channel, he's grown really fast. And the last thing that he latched on was saying 5 best countries for black people and not stay away from these countries. Those are the videos I'm not going to be doing. And he said something about, oh yeah, Guatemala is a good choice for that. And I did respond this time. I'm like, yeah, I was there, and then the volcano just erupted. No, thank you. I'm not doing that. And you heard me tell you that I saw people were just living at the foot of the hill underneath that volcano. And I'm like, aren't you worried? Especially this volcano has been spouting, every once in a while. Even though the guy said, oh, well, we don't mind if it does that because we don't want a big explosion. We'd rather it does a little bit here and there. And I'm like, I'm not comfortable with that at all. So we're not going to consider Guatemala. Oh. I think so far in Central America and Latin America, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. They said now, again, I think it's the same. And the guy is he's a former hospital CEO, so, he's intelligent. But I don't want to put countries on blast like that. There was a video somebody did about Panama. I don't know, I did a video about things that you may not enjoy about Panama as an expat. But then this is one of those videos where it's like an AI person talking. And then they were saying some things and I'm like, where did they get that information? Because it is so untrue. And of course, everybody kind of jumped on that video, even though it's not a person, because like I said, these are bots, they're not real people. And they were saying some terrible things about Panama, and I'm like, you're not even here. So that's why I don't do that. I don't get on that bandwagon. No. Nope, not doing it. So he said, oh, if you're looking to retire, and again, this is why a lot of people make their videos to attract people and have people tune in, click, and do that. And then he said the safest country in Latin America now is El Salvador. Well, you know what this new president, well, he's not new anymore, what he's done to kind of manage the crime that was happening with those gangs. So the country is very safe now because, and I don't have an opinion about that. He did what he had to do to keep his country safe. I don't have an opinion. I really don't. I mind my own business. People say, Maggie, what do you think? Oh, I don't think anything. No, I don't. I talk about me and my thing. I stay away from people's stuff. Yes. Good morning, Graceful Planning. You are so right about that. I mentioned that to my friend who is from Peru. Hey, she has a family member who is darker than both you and me in complexion. It's called colorism. Yes, it is. I don't know. I felt it was more than that in Peru. Because they're just so, I don't say monolithic, it's like a lot of them are the same. So I don't think they're like used to a lot of diversity, right? And people kind of now like to be with themselves because this is not something they're used to. Where in Panama, this is something for so many decades, you've had all these people here. So It's not in the DNA. Again, I don't know how else to explain that. The spiritual journey coach. Hola, spiritual journey coach. I went to high school with a lot of Latinos. Colorism does exist. Well, you know what's happening like in the DR. That's why I would never set foot back there again. It is really sad, but this does exist in Latin America. Oh yeah, well you know there's a lot of chatter about that. Considering the history of Guatemala, I'm not surprised. Whew, girl. So that's why it's like, why would I want to go deal with that? I don't want to. I want ease. So if I'm trying to move somewhere, I'm not going to go. That's why it's like people talk about some places in Europe. I'm like, yeah, it's nice. I like the culture, but at this stage in my life, I just don't want to deal with a lot of that. Now, if it comes up and I wasn't aware of it, that's different. But if I know, I'm not going to knowingly put myself in a situation, oops, that's a lot, where, you know, I'm going to have to enter into a place like that. No. So, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I want ease. I don't want to go anywhere where I'm going to have to fight that battle again, put my boxing gloves on. No. Been there, done that. All right, so I'm seasoning, putting the spices in. I did put some oregano, adobo, salt, pepper. I think that's good. Let's mix it. And of course, I'm not going to taste the fish. You marinade. 5 minutes, and then we're gonna start cooking it, because the fish does not need to marinate a lot, and I've been saying that. That's what ceviche works, right? You season it, and then people are ready to eat it, except Maggie. No, I don't do ceviche. And ceviche is very popular here in Panama when people come. I think the first time I came, I did try one. It's like, well, I'll try something once. Nothing that's moving now, right? Nothing that's moving. But I said, okay, I tried it. I went to Peru, did not try ceviche one time. But my God, the food, oh. Now see, that could be a weakness. Now the hotel that I was staying at in the first leg of my trip, they were very nice there. I had no issues. And again, I'm not saying I'll never go back to Peru, because it wasn't. I didn't think it was institutionalized, right? It was that guy. Well, I had the same experience with one woman in my building here. I walked into her office and she kept doing her thing, didn't acknowledge me. I'm gonna go down there and address that. I'm gonna say that is rude. I'm a resident. If I come up and I have a question, you cannot ignore me. Don't do that again. And I know they wouldn't ignore my landlord because she's feisty. So, all right. As I said, we have, let's see, I don't think I'll need more than that. That's good. And definitely gonna use that. I love onions. I'm sure you realize that. All right, so we're going to use the rest of my peppers, pimiento that I love. I love pimiento. So we can cook those together. And then we'll deglaze with my white wine. I'm very particular about my Riesling. I don't like to waste it. But deglazing it, when you're making something, it just elevates. And we got our fumé, which is the broth. We're in good hands. that's why, you know, for me, when I'm cooking, if somebody's talking about speed, I won't make it because I'm not a fast cook. I'd rather take my time because, you know, that's therapy. There's no reason for me to be rushing. No reason to be rushing. No, ma'am. Not trying to impress anybody. Now, when I finished my food and I played it, and I was like, oh my God, that's a work of art. That's all the recognition I need. Because then I'm the one that's going to eat it and enjoy it. Now, today, when my sister said, do you have anybody who has first dib on your food today? That was yesterday. I said, no, not yet. She said, well, I'm volunteering, so I haven't checked my phone to see if she asked me. I don't know if she's watching or not, but this shouldn't take long, sis. Take your time and enjoy the process, right? Enjoy the process of what you're doing. If this is therapy for me, why should I be rushing through it? So that's why, you know, in a commercial kitchen, there's too much rush. And that's why the food sometimes doesn't, you know, show that. Because, you know, you're just rushing everything. But I get it, because that's how they make money. It's how many covers will they have per shift? How many dishes? That's how they budget. Because, you know, being a chef is not just about cooking. It's about the financial part of it. And that's why they used to have big debate about who should call themselves a chef. I'm like, well, listen, you don't have to call me anything because I haven't, you know, I had to do something like that for graduation. My project for graduation, and we were in a team, and, you know, I loved my students. Of course, I call them my sons because, you know, I was the oldest one. And our project was to develop we were going to do a food truck. And we developed the name based on what we were going to focus on, and we did the budget. And then we had to cater an event. I think we decided to do a wedding or birthday party, and, you know, how many covers we were going to do and price everything so we could make a profit. That was interesting. I love that. And we had to design the food truck, do all the artwork. That was fun. That was one part before you graduate, and then you have to do your internship at a restaurant. Just like when I went to nurse practitioner school, you got to I had to find a clinic that would allow me to give them free labor, right? So I had to do that. I found a chef who wasn't too far from where I was living, but he did a lot of catering. This is the chef who yelled at me while we were serving lunch one time. I don't know what I did wrong, but he said, Maggie, I dissolved. I ran to the bathroom, ladies. I was in my 50s. I could have been his mother. And he yelled at me, and I ran to the bathroom and cried my eyes out. And then I had to splash water on my face and return to the line, to the kitchen, because I needed him to sign off on my internship. Otherwise, I wouldn't graduate. So, you do what you got to do, okay? Yep. And then after that, he felt bad, because when Christmas came, he gave me a nice bonus. I'm like, you're a jerk. But, you know, in the kitchen, there's a lot of that going on in commercial kitchen. Oh, there's a lot going in commercial kitchen. Well, they have sex in the cooler. And, you know, they're doing lines. I haven't witnessed it, but people talk about that. It is a very dysfunctional business because, I don't know if it's because of the pressure, and you seem to attract those kind of people. I had a couple of them on my staff when I had my cafe. You know, they would call you in the morning and say, oh, I don't feel good. You know, they're either high or they went out and did their thing. I'm like, oh my God, that was the stress. Part of the stress of running that business is that they were so dysfunctional. Oh, whew. I survived that. I tell people I'm a survivor. That was hard. My God. All right, my fish should be good now. Let's finish these. Turn this on. All right. But yes. So I said you could add a little potato. You could add some, like cute fingerling potatoes or white potatoes in here. Not so much sweet potatoes. You want something kind of white, right? Or like I said, if you had some pasta, you could do that. We are using the Dutch oven again. It's gonna be perfect. It was perfect for the gumbo. Ooh, that gumbo, ladies. Ooh, that was something. It was so good. I was so proud of myself. But because of that flour, this is not something I would cook for myself. I wanted to show you I could make it, but this is not something I would make. But after that, I saw a couple of people, doing their gumbo recipes, and then nowhere did that woman make a roux. I said, well, how can you call it gumbo? You have no roux. And that's why I say, if you're going to adjust somebody's recipe, call it something else. Show some respect for the integrity of the recipe, right? So don't call it gumbo. And then they put the andouille sausage in a seafood gumbo. Almost, I think every single recipe I saw online say seafood gumbo, and they had andouille sausage. And I'm like, I didn't do that. And I think also as cooks, you could do whatever you want, right? But I am very aware of what I should and shouldn't do. All right, let's see. Oh, we have the celery that we have to slice up. Ooh, that's good celery. And the leaves, for some reason, the leaves are still standing. Usually they're already like, ugh. I'm surprised. So I'm keeping an eye on where did I buy that celery? Oh, that was at Reba Smith. Huh. So maybe they are different. Come from a different farm. Okay? But then I'm going to use the leaves. I'm going to put the leaves in there. So this is going to be a hearty, healthy soup. And then what you would put with it, what you would eat it with, is a nice piece of sourdough bread. Ooh, toasted. But I think I'm going to do a bread in this Dutch oven for you guys. I just don't trust myself very much with the bread because I will not be able to resist. No, that's a no bueno. Oh, Maggie. To be at my age and not be able to eat what I want, this is so wrong. So unfair. All right. Woo. Did that all splash me? Sure did. That's because this Dutch oven is really hot. Nice. Turn this down a bit. So remember how I am putting the celery in. So we're going to cook the fish separately. And then bring it in. Bring it in. Very nice. Ooh. Once I deglaze it, I'm going to move it to the other side and then cook the fish. Actually, really, I was thinking of doing the fish first. I just forgot. But that's okay. Whatever I cook the fish, whatever, I'm just going to dump everything so we're not going to miss out on anything. You can actually feel the... I think I need to cut these in half. Otherwise, they're not going to be the same size as the rest of my veggies. And remember, size matters. Uniformity is important. You don't want to have different kinds of cuts on your plate. So we're just going to cut these in half. Should be fine. All right. It kind of just relax, and I can literally feel it. All right. Paprika that I love. Adobo. Salt, pepper. Cumin. Comino. Very good. Worcestershire sauce. The W sauce, this guy calls it. I'm like, okay. Alright. Very nice. Ooh. See, it's already looking so pretty. This is a little bit of parsley that is left over, and I'm going to just put that in there. So I think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put the crab in here. You could have dumped it, because you don't usually have to season crab, but I'm just going to let it get all that glorious taste. Ooh. Yes, 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 yes. All right, so now we're going to deglaze with the white wine. Frutal, tropical, no, not this one. Somebody must have bought that for my part at my party. Yep, Riesling, that's what we're gonna use. Ooh, did I finish the other one? Deglazing. Yep, that's it. Learn to embrace white wine. Ooh, the smell, so good. Oh my gosh. Now see, at this moment, all the good hormones are flooding my brain, okay? Because it's a turn on when you're cooking good, you have a good recipe, yes. I'm going to turn the other one on because I'm going to transfer it over there. And then I'm going to throw in my marinara once it gets over there, the other burner, while I cook the fish. Cook the fish. And I wanted to remind you how I cook the fish when I throw a little bit of butter and then the rosemary. That is key to get very tasty fish. Yes. So you let the wine evaporate, right? So that's why when somebody says to me, can I just not use the wine? Of course you can. You don't have to. This is my little secret sauce. This is my secret weapon that kind of brings my flavor up. But you don't have to use it. And you see, when I'm scraping, like I'm making sure I'm getting all the goodness, all the flavors from the bottom of the pan, the side of the pan. Yeah. We don't lose anything. All right? So now I'm going to pour my marinara in. I don't know if I used to put all of it. Probably not. Like this. This is something I try to always have in my freezer. And then I just put it in a pot of hot water to thaw it out. You don't want to put that in the microwave. Remember, you don't want to microwave plastic? Yeah, you've heard that, right? Did somebody say microwave popcorn is bad for you? Oh my gosh. I can't remember the last time I had microwave popcorn, but no, when I go to the movies, I do have popcorn though. But I guess they don't microwave it. All right, look at this beauty by Crocky. All right, so we're gonna move that to the smaller burner. And we're gonna put our, I still haven't bought the aluminum skillet that I'm trying to, all right. Now, I don't want this to kind of evaporate too much because what's gonna go in here right now, let's put the leek in. Remember how you always just get the veggie from the top. Don't just throw it in the pan because then you have the dirt at the bottom, especially leeks. It's very dirty. All right. So while I'm cooking the fish, what I want to do is just pour in my stock. I may need a little bit more liquid. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a little bit of liquid from my chickpeas. Look at my chickpeas that I cooked with the, it's got the garlic. I'm gonna put the garlic in there. No, I don't want to lose all that. No, no, no. That's flavor. That cooked with the bay leaves. So I'm gonna put some of that in there. I think. Yep, that's good. That's it. That's what I said. Don't ask me how much water, Miss Maggie. I think when I do the cookbook, I'm gonna have to measure. But that's a good color right there. All right, let's cook the fish. You know, every time we cook, we gotta do this with this stupid burner. But hey, this is what you do. You adjust. At least I learned what to do. Okay? It gets heated again. Don't ask me why that is. Alright, so there is plenty of garlic in that fish, so I don't need to. And when you're cooking your fish, you don't have to use that much oil if you don't want to, but always put like a little bit of good butter, none of that cheap stuff, okay? It makes a difference. And then take some rosemary, fresh rosemary. Don't miss that. Oh. You could do that with the scotch bonnet pepper, and you could also do that with some garlic. But again, as I said, I already have plenty of garlic, so we're just gonna put that in here because what it does is gonna infuse your fish. Ooh, you should smell it. You should smell it. Now you see chefs do that for fish, right? When they're cooking, they just baste. They do that for chicken, they do that for steak. There's a reason they do it. Alright, let's make a bouquet garni with some cilantro. Cilantro, thyme, and bay leaves. Not for this one, for the broth. All right, I'm gonna throw that in our broth. Now I don't have scotch bonnet pepper today, but I had like a little bit and I put it in the marinade for the fish. You saw that? I'm gonna rinse my kale. Alright, my kale. I usually use a lot more oil. I don't like to use that much oil. But you're basting the rosemary infused oil, you're basting the fish with it. You're creating flavor. You know me, they probably should call me the flavor lady. I'm not gonna do anything that doesn't taste good. So now when the fish starts to cook, I'm gonna taste it to see if I need to adjust any of the spices. I may have to squeeze a little bit of sriracha, you know, hot sauce. And then this is a good time for me to see how this fish is cooking, because I don't want it to disintegrate in the soup. Oh, that looks good. So what I might want to do is cover it so it will come to a full boil. Yes. So you see this piece here, it's already showing me that it's cooking. So it's not gonna take a long time in here. We're just gonna let this kind of get to almost where I want it to be and then put the fish in almost last. It's good. Really good. No adjustment needed. I went to high school with a lot of Latino. You already said that. Considering the history of Colombia, yep. Colorism. Oh, okay. I thought there was some new comments. All right. So this fish is actually. Let's get a few more minutes. Because it's going to cook a little bit in the broth too, right? That's why you cannot rush what you're doing if you want it to come out banging, right? And cooking, for me, is about consistency, right? You know how you go to a restaurant and you have a dish, it was nice, and you go back and it's like, not the same. See, I can't deal with that. My standards are the same. It doesn't matter what I'm cooking. Yep, I think we are good. So we're going to take it off here. Yeah. All right. We're going to bring over here. What'd you do? You turned it off. All right. Ooh, it smells so good. I right, so we're gonna start introducing our other veggies. Oh, it smells amazing. Whew. Listen. That looks good. You have that wine in there. Mm-hmm. Got a good base. That broth that I did is good. All right, let's put the celery in. I don't ever throw away my celery leaves. I always put them in whatever I'm doing. You know what? Throw away things. You know, leaves are good for you. So, we don't throw away anything. I don't play around. That's why I always look to see what do I have in the fridge. Now, yesterday I went to the fish store and I bought fish, so I was like, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Or it could have been a meatless, you know, fishless recipe of something. Now, we're gonna have to kind of time when we're putting our kale in, because I would like to have the green from the kale to just pop, right? So it's probably gonna go towards the end. Now, if I needed the broth to be a little bit thicker, well, you know, cornstarch should direct you. Oh, the broth is so good. Yes, yes. So I'm throwing away the rosemary from the fish because it did its duty. What it was supposed to do, it did it. So we're just gonna let the fish sit here. And work on the broth. And also the cannellini beans are gonna be added towards the end. And of course, I'm going to rinse them out because I don't know what's in that liquid, brine. We don't need any of that in our bodies. So, we are going to rinse it. Even though I could use a little bit of thickening, but not this way. I like to do everything the healthy way, if I can. They look nice. I don't know what anybody could have told you, but preservatives are never a good thing. So if they have to put it in a can and let it sit there for days, weeks, months, you know they're putting some things in there that you shouldn't have in your body. No, no, no. Oh, beautiful. I am so pleased with the way this turned out. All right, let's make sure. This is where, you know, because now I'm going to introduce the fish, so there is flavor from the fish that's going to flavor this. So I don't want to over flavor, right? It tastes really good. Towards the end, I might have to squeeze a little bit more lemon or lime, but let's just add. Because whenever I need a little salt, I prefer to use the adobo. I'm going to put some herbe de Provence in it. But it's got lots of herbs, right? Because I had um, oregano, we have thyme and cilantro in the bouquet. We season the fish with lots of garlic and the same, so we are very well seasoned. All right, so I think it's about time we just bring everything together. Let's do the barrel first, because it's a little bit hardier, but I don't want any of that water in. This is the watercress. And I bought it for like $1 the pack. And it was like, let me use it. It had a lot of stems. And I threw away the stems. We don't need the liquid. And again, it might have dirt at the bottom. Yep, I think I'm gonna just now introduce a little bit of this cornstarch so I can feel like I have a bit of control over the thickness. 100% natural. Okay. Better be. All right, you just put a little bit of water. Yes. All right. So, oh, it's just perfect. All right, now let's throw the fish in. Everything goes in. Maybe not the oil. And the crab's been in. Now we have the marinade from the fish, but don't be tempted to put that in here now. That would be a no bueno. Okay, relax. It's like, ooh, look at that. Oh my gosh. Doesn't that look amazing? My crocky, what's the beauty? I can taste the barrel. I'm gonna put a little bit of sriracha. A little bit of soy. The soy is gonna bring a little bit of saltiness. Wow. And I'm thinking, I still have crab. So next time you could do like a chickpea, fish, potatoes. And I'm thinking, I have some okra left from last week. You could do that. Yes. Okay. It's getting there. Yes, that sriracha just added a hint of heat, but not a lot. You know what I forgot to put in? I forgot to put the tomato. And that's probably a good time to put tomatoes in because they cook fast. We'll be sure we're not putting in any of the we're going to take these out. Well, we don't want the liquid. All right, I think it's time for the kale. The beans go last, because they're already cooked. Nice and bright and green, just what we want. Look how pretty that is. Make sure our fish is holding itself, its shape. Now somebody gets a big old pot or something like this, and every time you eat, you're feeding your body, right? You're feeding your body good stuff. And you don't have to be guilty about anything. Like I said, a nice piece of some sourdough bread would be, stop splashing. Alright, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to put a squeeze of lime and a little bit of butter to top it up with. Let's check our flavor again. The salt is good. Squeeze some lime. I think we can put the beans in now. Ooh-wee. Yes. Eat your veggies. Wow. Yeah, I think I need a little bit more cornstarch. You need to be a little bit thicker. You know, it's funny how I would be sitting here and then some old song would come to mind, like things that I learned when I was like a kid. I'm like, wow. I wonder how when Jesus we see. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord. Ooh, I got a lot in there. Oh, that's enough bueno, Maggie. That's too much. Let the people rejoice. Alright, yep, now we got it. Yeah, because this is not like a brothy chicken soup, right? It's not that kind of soup. So let's squeeze a little bit of lime and do Monte Aubert and we will be done. You always squeeze a little acid at the end. It just brightens everything up. Yep. Yes. Yes. Ooh. I think the bouquet can come out. It didn't work. Jesus the Son and giving All right. Monte Aubert. Turn the heat off. So for soups, you have so many choices. You could do whatever you want. You could do chicken breast, you could do fish, you could do oxtail. I don't like any other part of the cow that I'm not really eating beef. I only eat oxtail once in a while. But chicken thighs, they do really good with soup because they're a little heartier. Right? Or you could put a whole rotisserie if you want. But the bones are gonna help. That's why we use the fish bone to make our stock. Look at that. You could have edamame, not in this one because you already have white beans, but you could do edamame. Sometimes I put edamame and you see our fish is still holding its shape, which is what you wanted. You don't want it to disintegrate in the soup. And of course, I'm always tasting. Oh, voila, voila, voila. Let's just plate it, right? All right. You guys are very silent today. So we are going to use the ladle and mini med. I don't even use this, folks. And some photos. So we're gonna plate in this. Using the ladle. Now we're not gonna put the tail in here. But you know, the fish is just ready to be eaten. So it is nice and soft. Tell ya. Get one piece of fish, either two. And a crab. Oh man. Oh. Oh my goodness. Of course we don't want to put too much. I think just about this high. Oh. And sometimes with soups, you can just kind of put two on the side. You could serve it with some lime wedges. But look at this. And voila, this is our kale fish Catalina bean soup. Maybe I could add a few more beans so they can see it. in this soup. But you could have, if you wanted to, you could add some. All right, ladies, and of course it's really hot here, so you probably need to let it cool off so the soup doesn't make you really really hot. All right, did I lose you guys? Because nobody's talking. Hola, SHNA, shna, shna. Okay. All right, I don't know if I lost you, if the internet messed up, but we are done. Thank you for your presence and for watching. I don't know if I'm talking to anybody, but I am done and we are going to enjoy our soup. All right, au revoir. Bye bye.